Hi guys, welcome back to the Teaching a Student. So in chapter 1, we explore the ideas of power, order and justice, and we also talked that we're gonna be referring to the 5 P's as we go. So today we go into chapter 2 where we tackle one of the most fascinating questions in politics. And what's the question? How competing ideas about the public good shape policies and the lives of people around the world. So before we dive into the various political ideologies, I would want you guys to take a moment to reflect. So when you hear the phrase public good, what does come to mind? Is it a clean environment, affordable healthcare, national security? So just keep your own answer in mind as we move through this chapter. Then we shall see, right? So let's start. The idea of the public good. So politics is ultimately about deciding what benefits society as a whole. The term public good refers to goals and policies intended to help everybody, not just a single group. Yet, agreement on what counts as a public good is rare. Leaders often debate whether economic growth, social equality, or individual freedom should take priority. These debates highlight the tension between political ends and the means used to achieve them. So, in a democracy, citizens are expected to be politically literate so that they can evaluate these trade offs and hold leaders accountable. So, to navigate political debate, we often use the left right spectrum. The terms left and right originated in the setting arrangement of the French Parliament in the late 18th century. However, their meaning has evolved. Generally, the left favors change and equality, whereas the right emphasizes tradition and stability. The boundaries shift across countries and over time. A policy considered left wing in one nation may be centrist in another. So, understanding this spectrum helps us see where different ideologies cluster. So, we're going to start with the two most conservative ideology, that is liberalism and conservatism. Let's start with liberalism. So, classical liberalism emerged during the Enlightenment, advocating for individual freedom, limited government, and equality before the law. Modern liberalism supports government action to promote social welfare while protecting civil liberties. On the other hand, conservatism values tradition, social order, and gradual change. Conservatives often caution that too much government intervention can threaten freedom or moral stability. Let's consider the ongoing debate over healthcare in the United States. So, liberals generally argue that healthcare is a public good that requires government involvement. On the other hand, conservatives warn that excessive regulation may reduce efficiency or choice. So we move to social and Marxism. The two theories that I found very interesting. So socialism calls for collective ownership of key resources to reduce inequality and provide for everyone. Democratic socialism, which is seen in Nordic countries, combines market economies with strong welfare states. Marxism goes further, envisioning a classless society without private property ownership. Although orthodox communism has declined, Marxists tend to continue to influence politics in parts of the world. So, for example, we can look at leaders in Venezuela, Bolivia, and Nicaragua have expressed sympathy with Marxist ideas and adopted socialist policies. So Cuba remains an undemocratic Marxist state since the late 1950s. In Europe, communist parties in countries such as France and Italy have participated in elections and at times achieved political respectability. In the 1970s, the Communist Party in Italy helped launch the electro-communist movement, which renounced violent revolution and sought change through democratic means. So, what's the legacy for communism? So, after the Cold War, traditional communism declined dramatically, but it did not disappear. So, China represents a hybrid model, sometimes called market socialism, which blends capitalist economic practices with single party rule. Vietnam follows a similar path. So these cases show how our Marxist-inspired ideas adapt to local conditions and continue to influence policy, even in market-oriented economists. Then we move to nationalism and fascism. So, nationalism is the belief that people who share a common culture, language, or history should govern themselves. It can inspire interdependence movements and pride, but it can also lead to exclusion and conflict when it becomes extreme. So, fascism, which arose in Italy and New Germany, glorified the nation and strong leader while rejecting democracy. Modern examples of rising nationalist sentiment include far-right parties in parts of Europe and populist movements around the world. So this case reminds us that ideology can mobilize hope, and at the same time it can also unleash violence when unchecked. So apart from the conventional ideologies, we also have some of new emerging ideologies. So the modern era has given rise to new ideologies. For starters, feminism advocates for gender equality in all spheres of life, whereas environmentalism, which is also called green politics, seeks policies to combat climate change and preserve natural resources. Libertarianism emphasizes minimal state interference in both personal and economic matters. Let's consider Germany's Green Party, which has shaped Europe and climate policy, or the Kenyan constitutional recognition of environmental rights. So these movements show how ideology continues to evolve as societies confront new challenges. So how has ideology evolved in the globalized world? So in today's interconnected world, ideologies frequently mix. Social democracies combine market capitalism with robust welfare program. Even authoritarian states borrow elements from different states to maintain legitimacy. This blending can blur traditional labels and create new political currents. So, some of the discussion questions I'd like you guys to reflect on, and then we can talk about maybe in the next video is which ideology best balances individual freedom and the public good in your country, and why do you think that ideology works best for your country? So, are the left and right still meaningful categories in today's politics? Also, can socialism succeed without sacrificing democracy? And finally, how do environmental concerns reshape traditional ideologies? So I'd like you to take a moment to write down your thoughts or share them in the comments. Your perspective adds depth to this conversation. So, to just summarize, we have explored how political ideologies, ranging from liberalism and conservatism to socialism, nationalism, and some of the emerging movements such as feminism, shape debates about the public good. These ideas are not relics of history. They definitely guide decisions that affect us every day. So, in the next chapter, which will be in the next video, we're going to examine how political system translate these ideas into government action. Until then, stay curious and keep questioning. Years in learning, the teaching it didn't. Bye, guys.